Fun to have known Chad all these years, and I have worked with a lot of churches over the years, and this man is the real deal. And I tell people that all the time. People ask me about churches in Cincinnati, and I'm like, different pastors are different people, but I know a couple who I would feel comfortable sending anybody under the sun to, and this man has grown and stretched and moved over the years in ways that I'm in honor of being his friend and watching him handle the bumps and valleys of life and come back up swinging. So it's an honor to be your friend. Yeah, thanks. That was the $20 speech. If you want 50, I can keep going. Okay, yeah. We'll see you next week for that. All right, welcome. We are excited to have you guys here. And I asked earlier, so I got to know how many of you are actually morning people. So arms up for morning people. Yeah. You raising your hand? Okay. So hands up for not morning people. Not morning people. Yeah, we're like half and half. All right. Well, I will tap dance for y'all to keep us all moving and awake and keep it on going. So, no, are you kidding? I don't even know my name before about 9 o'clock. So there is no telling what I will say today because I am known for saying stupid stuff anyway. So get me up too early and here we go. All right. We are extraordinarily excited to be here. And I'm Cyndi. This is Darcy. We have a company called Stretch Strategic Leaders. And what we do is work with companies on setting strategy and then coming in and helping them implement, because working through our issues as people when we're doing strategy isn't always the easiest thing under the sun, because it's change management. And it's hard for us to change as human beings. And so a couple of years ago, we put together this program about why don't we look at how we do strategy as human beings and what's our personal strategic plan. And so this is, for you guys, some highlights of that program, because really we want to have a chance for everybody to come together and connect. We've had this, come laugh, come learn, come eat some food, and that's what we're doing. There are no expectations for anything other than enjoying being here. And I'll tell you just a little bit about us. Darcy and I met. Darcy does strategy. She's a Georgia Tech grad with a mechanical engineering degree, and then worked for Procter & Gamble, which I did as well. I'm a University of Alabama grad, Roll Tide, and studied business, and I worked for Procter & Gamble too, but our paths never crossed. And then Darcy went on to Harvard and got her MBA, and I kind of moved around. I'll tell y'all a little bit about my story in a little bit. And then we met here in Cincinnati, and it's been an absolute blast. And then as things do, isn't it amazing how you meet people and your paths cross? She attended Horizon, and I was here in the very first meetings of Horizon starting because I helped start Crossroads. And so you got to love that. I look around the room today, and you guys are going to form friendships that change your lives too. I mean, that is really what this is all about. Now, some game plan for us today is all about, we're going to go through the 4 stages of strategic planning, and they look like this. Today is our listen and learn. And we're going to ask you to do a couple of things today around thinking through who you are, how you're wired. We're going to pinpoint some core values that you're using in your life now, and we'll kind of keep going through all of that. So here in your book is the Section 1 syllabus. It tells you exactly what we're doing today. I will emphasize that there doesn't necessarily have to be any homework that you do. If you would like to do some things outside of here to continue on that journey, we've put them in there. We've put links to some videos and some things that we'll give as options at the end of our time together. But what we're going to keep doing today is look at this all about me, how we look at core values, and showing you the feedback. So this is all a wrap for where we are today. The reason we use the word stretch, all comes back to, how many of you have been stretched in life? I got one good. Yeah. Life comes with stretching, doesn't it? I know. They're gonna keep, the light's gonna keep binging off of you guys. And so this is about stretching. This is about getting through, thinking about who I am. We work off the premise that life really starts with self-awareness. That if I don't know myself, if I'm not a student to who I am, then I'm not going to know how I'm going to respond when those things come along that do stretch us. And so this whole course is meant to give you time and space to come and really be self-aware and enjoy the places that have shaped you and made you who you are. And as we go through that, it's about, to your level of comfort, sharing with the other women in the room. And we'll give you plenty of time to do that. Share within your comfort zone, exchange phone numbers, get together. Y'all could even do, a quick study together and talk through the feedback you've gotten outside of here if you would like to. Here's where we're going today, is we're going to start looking at how God created us. And we're going to start really trying to take a picture. Do you have the verse, Darcy? Can you get our verse up? I don't know where it went. That's not it. No, that's not it. I think you moved.
No, I didn't move any of your stuff.
That one. There we go. We had skipped it. So this is the verse that we're going to start out with. And it's all about, in Psalm, David writing about where God was leading him. And I know for some of you here, the journey of faith is maybe just beginning, or it's something you've been through long term, and that's great. We're great with wherever you are in that journey. I know for me, it took me quite a while to really kind of wrestle with where was faith and spirituality and all that in my life before I really came to a place where I realized that the pathway that I felt chosen for me and I chose as well was a relationship with God through Jesus. But being here, ask questions about that. Find me. I'd love to share the story further. But I want us to come back around to, as we look at ourselves, this verse always is the verse that I anchor myself on. I can be going through something and think, oh my gosh, I've messed it up. And I'll come back to this verse because I think it's so powerful. And the verse is, "For you formed me in my inward parts. You covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well." When we think about this verse, it is really amazing to think about the before and after of it to me. The fact that we would all be, there are other versions of this that say we were knit together in our mother's wombs. Anybody in here a knitter? Couple? I know, I'm a knitter too. And boy, when you drop a stitch, it makes a mess. And to think that we're all here and God didn't drop a stitch. And to say that he knit us together, we have to have a pattern when we start knitting. I mean, I can make a little doily without a pattern, but to think of the cells and the DNA in our bodies, there is a plan. And the fact that we would have our life, who we are, knit together, meant that there was a pre-plan, that there's a God of the universe that had to plan the earth being here, that had to plan what DNA is. I mean, it is shocking to me how our brains work. And so this plan allowed us to realize that, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And so when I get in a spot where I'm feeling a little off kilter, I come back to, I'm not a mistake. So I might feel overwhelmed or stretched right now, but what I need to do is come back to what is great about me. Like what do I like about me? If I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, what's that mean? And what do I want to maximize in my life? And what have I learned in my life? And how do I want to bring myself to the world around me? But even more importantly, in my quiet time, who do I want to bring to me about me? I got here this morning, it was so gorgeous out there, and I just wanted to go sit out there and just sit Because the older I get, the more I'm realizing how much I like being in my own company. And I did not start out there. I mean, I trust me, I didn't start out there. I grew up in a mom with a major personality disorder, kind of an unstable, not sure, when it was going to be feast or famine in my household. And so when you grow up with that acute trauma, you do all this work to kind of live and survive. And I didn't realize how much I'd taken it into my adulthood. And so I had to stretch myself to get back to a place where I just wanted to sit with myself and be with myself and come back around this to God's works are marvelous. Like when I jump into this, doubting myself and getting down on myself, and, how many of us go, oh, I look terrible in this, or, oh, gosh, I just gotta change, lose weight, do my hair. How did I get here? Their house is bigger. My car is falling apart. All of these things that we do, I'm just going to challenge all of us to come back to marvelous are God's works. And we are perfectly and wonderfully made. We were knit together, covered, pre-planned. And so my soul knows this very well. Hold on to that verse. Your soul knows that you are perfectly and wonderfully made. So think about how we fight against that all the time. And yet we just have to come back to, whoa, wait a minute. I am perfectly, wonderfully made, and my soul knows it. So this brain has to connect with my soul knowing it. So when we go to this, where we start looking at what does that mean for us, we go through all of these, like, single. What is it like to be single? What is it like to become a wife or a mom or engage with motherhood in some method? Where is it that we're stretching on how we're paid or unpaid? And I want to just share with you all, Darcy and I are going to be really transparent about some things in our lives that we made a commitment to do coming into this. And I think I surprised myself Thursday night because I was really transparent, but I want to. If I really believe that I'm perfectly and wonderfully made, then the places in my life that haven't been as pretty and wonderful as I would like for them to be, they're a part of me. There's beauty in the ashes. And so I shared with them, single, I was a bridesmaid 16 times. Let me tell you, it started in the 80s. And if you want to know about humility, go back and look at bridesmaids' dresses that were happening in the 80s. Because I can tell you, I got pink taffeta, I got green Laura Ashley with the crinoline skirt underneath it. Yeah, remember big poofy 80s sleeves? Oh, deep south. I have one that I looked like a can-can girl in that was black satin with silver lace overlay that was supposed to be the drop back, whatever you call that. But on me being so tall, because, tall clothes didn't come out until about 10 years ago. So on me, it started above the knee, and it went down to that fat part of your calf. And our bridesmaids' gifts were this fascinator hair thing to go on our head. So I was about 6'4", and I am not kidding, you guys. I can tell you some stories about some bridesmaids' dresses. I can tell you about the dad at one of them who went around and told everybody that the bridesmaids' dresses range from a size 2 to a size 16. Told everybody. He thought that was hilarious, and he never stopped to realize that the size 16 girl was slightly tired of hearing it. Like, everybody at that wedding knew I was size 16 in a light pink taffeta dress. Okay? So what happened out of that is I got tired of being a bridesmaid. And so I decided to go on a scuba diving trip and meet someone and marry him 6 months later. And I call that stupid. It was so bad. I just wanted to be a bride. I look back now and I have to be honest with myself. Turns out he was bona fide a pathological liar. And so I can't get myself out of it, finally do. And I find myself in my late 30s, after 5 years of marriage, single again, and wanting to be a mom. Like that, just having this, that window's closing. I want to be a mom. I want to be a mom. I remarried only to find out that I had severe endometriosis, and being a mom, not looking like it's in the picture at all. Started filling out adoption papers. Had to have surgery for the endo. And finally the doctor said, let's just do infertility and see where we land. Small chance, but let's do it. Got pregnant. Happiest, greatest thing. Threw up for 9 months. You can throw up while driving a car on yourself. Been there, done that. Have sat through meetings with buckets next to me to puke in. And so on August 23rd of 2007, my son came into the world. And I remember literally saying out loud when he was born that I would never be safe again because I loved him so much. It was like my heart had left my body into this little being. And so Daniel was like the most amazing experience ever in my life. And the world celebrated with us. I mean, literally, we'd go to the front door and packages would be falling in the front door. I think people had watched what I'd been through. They were, so celebratory of it. And at 6 weeks, we end up in the emergency room. And the next day, we go see a neurologist, and she leaves the room for a little while and comes back in. We were talking about where we were going to go for lunch. He just kept having these little spasm things. And she came in, and we're thinking, oh, she's going to say, wait it out, it's baby stuff. And instead, she said, I need one of you to go home and pack a bag, and the other to stay here under our care. We're emptying out a room on the neurology floor at Children's in order for y'all to be in there. And we don't think you'll ever leave the hospital again with Daniel. And talk about your life just coming out from underneath your feet. So off to Children's we go. We got very comfortable with the neurology floor and the pulmonary floor and the whatever floor. And Daniel lived for 7 years. Medically fragile. We had a full hospital setup in our home. Learned all of the medical equipment for him. He was amazing, you guys. He never spoke a word. He had sounds. He never rolled over. He had very limited vision. And he impacted more lives than I could even begin to tell you guys about. I mean, that little guy, somebody would come hold him and think that he wasn't connected with them, and then all of a sudden he'd swing an arm and hit their face once he got his vision to him. And I watched people's lives just change. My life changed. Daniel was perfectly and wonderfully made. There was nothing wrong with that little boy. He was knit together the way he was meant to be knit together. He was beautiful. He was loving. And there was absolutely nobody who came in contact with him that wouldn't say that he changed. He would have been 15 this past Tuesday. And I spent the day just thinking about him and how many people loved on him. And I hadn't thought about this in a long time, but my friend went with Daniel's dad to go do the death certificate and came back with a copy of it. And they couldn't scroll forward when it came to occupation. So what do you put for occupation on a death certificate for a 7-year-old? She wrote motivational speaker. And he was a motivational speaker. And so life has been that way. Life has been this ride of ups and downs. The friend who did that lost her life to colon cancer last fall. And so I have this beautiful vision of her in heaven with Daniel. And so the marriage has taken its toll. You don't go through that unscathed. And so 3 years ago, coming through all of this, working on a new business with Darcy, a plane crashed into my house. I'm the house in Madeira 3 years ago that had the plane crash into it. Yeah. Okay, so all right, when does all this come to like easy button moment? And you know what? I mean, there were times that I just wanted to go to heaven too. I mean, there were times through all this, you don't get through this without feeling stretched and feeling overwhelmed. But you know what's so amazing to me about this is I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have the faith that I have. I wouldn't have the opportunity to hear other people's stories and sit with them in grief and silence sometimes just so that they can talk it through. I wouldn't have the heart I do to serve people. I would not be who I am had it not been for those things. And I am so thankful for every bruise and scar and bump. And I am not defined by them because we know how we're defined. I'm perfectly and wonderfully made. These are things that have happened to me, and they're opportunities for me to learn more about myself. There were things going into all that I didn't really like about myself. I've had to do some deep work through all of it. But you know what? What a gift and what a blessing. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say it Pollyanna. I say it like, I get it, you guys. I get there's nobody in this room who's gotten through life without some scar tissue and some stretch marks. But that's why we're here, because out of it comes these deep friendships. It becomes more content and happy with yourself. It becomes a trust in yourself that I can get through almost anything when I have people around me and when I can sit by myself and when I'm excited about what God's going to do next. So I'm going to turn it over to Darcy, and we're going to do our first exercise together that's going to give you guys a chance to be challenged to think about where you are and what you've learned. And I thank y'all for receiving my story. I know for Saturday morning, it's so fun. But it's a good story.
So the basis of our program, if you go to your first page in the book, first page, is this, has anyone heard of the Igaiji? I think it's, have you heard of it? Yeah, awesome. So it's I didn't know anything about it prior to kind of our first time doing the program, and someone, actually one of our participants from GE, he's from France, Didier, said, that sounds a lot like the Igaiji. And the Igaiji is this concept that Cyndi, we all have stuff, right? And we're going to start with an exercise called About Me, because all of that is part of who we are. And when you go through life, we really hope and want and have to be purposeful that we can find this Igaiji. And the Igaiji, boy, this is really tough over here, isn't it? Yeah, I'm going to stand over here. Sorry, I have empathy for you. We really, in all seasons of life, so we're all in different seasons. So that's the first thing to say. My sister-in-law said this to me probably 15 years ago. And I love that word because we all go through seasons of life, right? My daughter just started college at St. Louis University, which is awesome. But I'm in a season of life where I just lost my 18-year-old to St. Louis, and it's been a week of just tears, like uncontrollable tears. I was at a neighbor's house last night, and there are 8 of us coming, but somehow God put the 4 of us there first who all had our daughters leave for college a week before. So before the other 4 got there, we just all cried for like an hour and just had our little pity party. But we needed to. But at her, so she went to St. Louis. It's a Jesuit school. They had a convocation, or I have pronunciation dyslexia. It's a thing. I know you guys don't think so, but it is. But they talked about this Igaiji. And what I think one of the priests said, what they really hope all the students get out of the education after 4 years is that these students, and I think we do this in every season of life, can put together what you're good at, what you love to do, and what the world needs done. So those 3 things is part of our program. And the first thing to understand that is for us to say, well, what am I good at? What is my story? Why am I uniquely stitched in this way? Now, what's funny about those 3 things that he forgot to mention to all the college students is what you can get paid for, which I wrote to Lily. I'm like, Lily, by the way, you need to get paid for something when you get out of that school with an education because you're going to have loans. So, but that's what, when we do this for organizations, we're hoping in any season, and all the companies that we work with, and all the employees that we have an opportunity to coach. This is terrible. I'm going to move over here. Is that they have those areas, what we're good at, what we love to do, what the world needs done, and what we can get paid for. So that is the whole kind of premise of this personal strategic planning program, is to try to find that intersection. And when you find that intersection, it's a combination of knowing what you love to do and core values. I mean, core values are a big part of who you hang around, who your community's with, what's important to you, your guiding principles. So we start with this self-awareness, which is today, and really helping us understand, well, what is it about me that's unique and interesting, and what do I like to do? And then throughout this program, we also have you do some work around, well, what are all the things I could go do in this season of life? What are all the things out there? We call them opportunities. What are the things that I have to prepare for, threats?
And Darcy, can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I would add to this, too, that, recognizing seasons of life for women, stretch that what can you get paid for to what is it that you're bringing back? Okay, so the Igaiji model is, this is the true model, but I know for us that many people are in different phases of life, and we women have these different phases of life. I mean, we're faced with so many different choices around, motherhood and work and balancing it all. So put in that bucket serving your family or volunteering, retirement, being a grandmother, all of these different things. So I just want to add, the what I get paid for is in sometimes love dollars.
Absolutely. And we had a woman on Thursday that was sharing her story on the About Us. And she's a sewer, and she's really good. Her best friend was with her. And it was so fun listening to her because she was in, I think probably in her 70s, late 70s. And she really had found her gift of sewing and mentoring, and told a story about someone that she had trained and mentored that came and gave her a book that included a pattern that she had created. And it was just all she needed. I mean, it was what she got paid for. She didn't need to take any money because that was her way that she gave back. It was awesome. So this is just the foundational part of this program. And when we go through these different setups with a company, is this purpose, values, and a vision. And throughout the 4 sessions, we're going to do that. So we're going to start today with really who we are, what does that mean? What are our core values? And then the next time we get together, we're really going to talk about what are all the different things that we can do. And we're going to come out, and at the end of your book, you don't have to look now, there's a playbook. And the playbook is the end of the last session, because we think, has anyone heard of the book, The Secret? Some of you may have heard. I think we talked about it, The Secret. Yeah, so The Secret says that if you say out loud what you want in life, that God, the universe, your friends, community will help you do it. But most of the time, we're afraid to say out loud what we want. And we're afraid either it's too high of a risk or maybe someone won't believe us. And what we think is that all of us want to help us be the best version of ourselves. But sometimes we don't know how to help you because you haven't told us. And so when I was at Procter & Gamble, I was at a plant, and anyone who at that time, 20 years ago, in manufacturing, you rotated every 2 to 3 years. And when you didn't rotate jobs, you rotated plants. So I was in my early 20s, and there wasn't a female role model in my vision of someone that I felt like had a successful marriage and kids, because they rotated every 3 years. And so I remember a situation where it was just tough. I was in my 20s. I was in a department where we had downtime, and at Procter & Gamble, downtime wasn't a good thing to have. And so I'd gone to the woman, Bonnie, and said, I need you to change the production schedule tomorrow so that I won't get hit with this downtime. Well, Bonnie's 4-year-old son, it was his birthday that day. I didn't know it, and I didn't have any idea until Bonnie said, "Absolutely, I will absolutely help you. It's going to take about 2 hours of my time." It was already 6:00 at night. That meant she was going to stay to 8. She picked up the phone. It still gets teary. I still think about it. Called her husband and said, "I'm going to miss the birthday party tonight because I have to fix this." And at that moment, I was like, I don't like it here. I don't want to make that phone call. So I decided at that moment that Procter & Gamble for me in manufacturing wasn't going to be it. I needed to figure it out. So I ended up deciding I was going to vest at 5 years. And then I went to another mentor I had there, Kennedy Germain, and he's like, "Well, what do you want to do next?" And I said, "I don't know." And he goes, "Well, then I can't help you." And so I had to do some soul searching, and he actually had me do this vision at like 22. Well, where do you want to be now? I mean, it's, where you want to be. And at that moment in time, I said, I want to be out of manufacturing. I want to find a place where I can go and stay and maybe someday get married and have kids. And so I applied. He gave me a recommendation. But I could still remember where he's like, "I just don't know how to help you because you haven't told me what you want." And as women, we're there a lot. So part of this program is for you to kind of share within this small community, who you are. It's just the first exercise about me. And then as we work through each of these sections, you're going to maybe get a little closer to that igaji, where you can connect what you're good at, with what you love to do and what the world needs done, because that's purpose for us. My mom's in her 80s. Her purpose right now is helping me carpool. She loves to help me carpool and doing laundry with me in community every Sunday night, which we will be doing tomorrow. She also gives back at the church because she's really good she was an executive assistant. And so she does it at her church, and she does it at Mercy Hospital. And the funny thing about when she found her igaji, it was about 2 years in after moving here because I could not meet all her needs because my kids just didn't need rides all that much. And I'm like, it's really not enough. And then she found this volunteer opportunity at Mercy Hospital every Wednesday morning from 8 to noon. My kids could be needing to go to the hospital. They might have, they might be in the hospital, and my mom would be like, "I got to go to Mercy Hospital." I'm like, "It's a volunteer position, Mom. That's my purpose. That's what I'm doing." And it made her so happy to have that. 8 to 12, that's all she needed, 8 to 12 and a couple carpools and laundry with me on Sunday. But she found her igaji, late 70s. I was worried when she moved here. I'm like, how is she going to find her community? She did. She did. And so part of this is for us all to kind of help each other, right? And connect with each other. So what we want you to do, go to the About Me page, and we want you to take a few minutes on your own, and share who you are. Like walk through these questions. What were some defining moments for you? Cyndi told you about hers. I've got a few more maybe to mention as we work through the program, but I have defining moments where I made big decisions that have impacted what I do and who I am and my core values. So what are some of your defining moments? What are some of your passions? What do you love to do? My mom just loves to help. It doesn't even matter. And she loves to drive. It's crazy. I don't even know. She can't even see that. My kids are like, she really needs those cushions because she's about this tall. We can't even see her sometimes over the thing. I'm like, I don't know if she's there. But what do you love? What are your gifts? What are your passions? And then what are some highs and lows? This is anyone, teachers or anyone have kids in schools, they do this. This was, I think, in the 7th grade, my son did this highs and lows of life, ups and downs of his life, and I still think this is so funny. Just to point out a few things, he was born. That was a high. This is when his sister started singing. Literally, this is when his hamster Furball died. It was big. Yeah, we were given that. I'm not sure what happened to Furball. This is when we got the dogs. I said we could get dogs when he went to kindergarten. We still have them. They're 9 years old. We went on a vacation. This is when he fractured his pinky. I don't even remember that. But when I read this, oh, okay, now I remember that. This is the entire 6th grade. He is a very smart individual, but he's one of those ones that ask a lot of questions. Well, his teacher didn't appreciate his questions, so she put him in the hallway with earplugs in. The entire 6th grade. This is when I moved him to another school. Because to advocate for a mother, what are we, mama bears? I was like, I don't think my kid's going to be in the hallway. So that's when he moved to another school. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I didn't even know this. This is what he did after the fact. I mean, he was at this new school and he showed me this. And I'm like, Liam, what's this? And he was like, that's the entire 6th grade. I was like, wow, holy tamale. That's crazy. There are some highs in there though. And this is actually really funny when he ran over a snake with the lawnmower. I mean, it wasn't even his fault, but he cried about that snake, that poor snake. So anyways, I mean, this is his life at like 12, right? Think of what your highs and lows would be. And that defines, like Liam you can look at this and say, does Liam like animals? Absolutely. His friend took a rock on a frog and he came back crying. I'm like, Mickey just killed a frog. Mickey had I mean, this is at 6. I can't believe that didn't make the list. But, I mean, he is the whisperer, the dog whisperer. They know. My dogs sit right under his seat. And whatever he drops a lot for them. But this is it. I mean, even at 13 defines his life. So let's do that. I want to mention one book. If you've gone through stuff, is The Road Less Traveled by Scott Peck. It's a great book. It's old. It's just, this book is about, we all have highs and lows. Together, we don't have to make those define us and be victims. The road less traveled is when we say we have stuff. We have a lot of stuff. But with God's help and our community's help and everyone's help, we can figure out a different path. And that's the less traveled path. But that's the path of the work that we're doing, because the less path work starts with self-awareness. So let's do that exercise. You guys are going to have plenty of time to do it. And share. So you do it, and then you share. That's the fun part. We share with each other. Got it? We're going to give you about 20 minutes.
All right. Here we go. Did y'all learn something about most of the people at your table? I want to come sit at every table because I love people's stories. It's just incredible to me how we get shaped. What we're going to do next, Darcy is handing around some cards, and we're going to move over into looking at our core values. And in your book is a long list of core values. And there are a couple of things that I want to make sure I emphasize as you start through this exercise. One is that, our purpose that we'll be working on as we move forward, like this is all about listening and learning about ourselves. And what we'll start doing is distilling that down, and we'll start working on kind of our why statement, our purpose statements. And the core values really are shaped by where we are in a season of our lives. I find that they do change over time. And the reason for that is different things happen to you and you have different experiences and God's shaping different things in you. And so it's really important to go back and revisit, where am I and what's jumping off the page for me right now? And so, it comes out of what is my story, how I'm seeing the world, what I believe at this point in life. And so I share with people all the time that, I used to be the Procter & Gamble, I'm going to charge my career, I'm going to go, 10 years of sales and sales management, and some internal strategic planning. I know, P&G has that unique culture of you got to drive. And I am so thankful for Daniel. I left there to go into full-time ministry as a pastor for the next almost decade of my life. And, Daniel really taught me so much that for me, the last number of years, my core value has been about kindness. And that has shaped who I am, because I tell stories over and over again of the experience of kindness. I still don't know, some group of women put an ice chest on our front porch, and we would get a text that the meal was in it. And we would go out, and there would be a full meal for weeks on our front porch. And I don't know any of the people who did it. Our neighbor came and cut our grass for years. I mean, it is mind-boggling to me the times that we would be out and I'd be, with Daniel and all this equipment everywhere and have people just go out of their way, young children, to open up doors to let us get into, walk through somewhere. And other times where grown adults would scoot ahead and get through the door so they didn't have to wait. And you're like, did you just see what you did? But it brought about this kindness even to their story, that their experience was such that they didn't even think about the compassion towards a mom juggling the special needs child. And did I get there immediately? No, I might have used some choice words here and there in my journey of it. But a couple of restaurants were refusing to seat us because of the size of the wheelchair and the equipment. And, there may be a couple of times where the mama bear came out and I was like, oh, let me tell you about the American Disabilities Act and how quickly I might deal with you right now, So I'm not saying if y'all know me at all, I'm not very a gooey person. I put it out there. But that kindness word has shaped that in those journeys of trying to figure ourselves out, that for me, I realized that gentleness and long-suffering and kindness mattered to me. The same way that as I've come through life, I've hit a point where, my life at this point, single, no children, nieces and nephews in another state, or states, but my life is really defined by serving people at this point, helping people grow, helping people really get in touch with who they are, and that grounds me all the time. So kindness and service. Now, if we, in 5 or 6 years, one of the things that I feel like God's working on me right now about is getting very specific about what those mean. And so it's a constant reevaluation. The list that's in your book is just a compilation of words. If you've already defined your core values, don't feel like you have to redo them. If none of these words work for you, grab your phone and look up other values. Let your heart speak to you. So a couple of guidelines here. In going through this, we find that a lot of times people get stumped on two in specifically, faith and family. Because it's like, well, I can't not put these as number 1 and 2 as faith and family, okay? So if you at this point in your life are actively working on rethinking how you're doing your family, serving through your faith, yes, keep those. But what I want to encourage is don't let those keep you from some of the work to look at what else is going on in your life. That make sense? Okay, so you're not cheating if you don't put faith and family as number 1 and 2. And so on the next page, there's a process to distill it down. What we're doing time frame today is circle all you want, and then just the one that jumps off the page, the one that stands out to you, write it big on your card, and share that one at the table. You may leave here and you may feel on your heart that there's another word or two that you want to do, but for the purpose of today, talk through the one that jumped out at you. And then we're going to share those at the table. Yeah. And they can do all about me or the core value. And I am saying goodbye at this point. I helped start an art program up in Springboro a few years back, and I'm an adjudicator today, and I have to get there and start judging booths. But if y'all are bored today, Springboro, Ohio, about 30, 40 minutes up the road. We've got 90 artists. We have food tents. Bring your kids. There's a massive kids tent. I know I'm not supposed to be here advertising something else for y'all, but it is the funnest day ever. And I wish I could stay with y'all, but I'll be in trouble if I don't get up there and judge some booths. So we will see y'all in a couple weeks. And remember, you can do Thursday or today, Saturday. I don't even know what day it is because I got up too early. And she'll handle all that.
Okay, so we're all sharing core values, right? Sharing core values. All right, here we go. We'll get back for launching out. Are we good? Yeah? Wow. It's hard to get women to stop talking. On Thursday night, I had one table that every time we tried to go, she'd go, 3 more minutes. And then I'd go, okay, she'd go, 3 more minutes. I'm like, no, seriously. She's like, 3 more minutes. And I'm like, I can't keep giving you 3 minutes. All right, so in honor of our time, I want to make sure that we get out at 10 o'clock. But gosh, great conversations. It was so good hearing you guys connect. One of the big goals of this program is just connection. This framework we're giving you is just a framework to connect. So I appreciate everyone who shared. I was overhearing some conversations. And I was a working mom, too. I was going to just tell you this funny story. When I was had my young kids, trying to get them in preschool and trying to work, I called one of my clients. I'm a consultant. I'm like, Tom, I'm going to be in the office all day from 10 to 2. And he called me back, and he's like, just so you know, 10 to 2 is not all day. And I was like, it was all day for me because I worked like 5 to 6, got my kids to school, came to work 10 to 2, got them home from preschool, did their activities, and then worked 8 to 10. That's a full day for me, Tom. It was just so funny. It's like, I'll be in the office all day. It's like, that's not all day. So anyway, all right. So what we hope that you got out of today is just some self-awareness and it's funny, what was your name again? Tammy. Tammy's so funny. She said the same thing when we do this. After you hear someone's story and then they tell you your core value, you're like, I could have guessed that and I've only known you for an hour. Isn't that amazing? We do that all the time. It's like someone shares their story, you don't know them, and you're like, that's absolutely your core value. They're like, yeah, you don't know me, but yes, it is. So that's the power of this framework. So if you want, Gail's going to close this up here. She'll send you an email, but there'll be an opportunity for you if you want to do more work. You don't have to. Feedback's a gift. We do have a little feedback survey if you want to ask others a little bit about you. These are questions if anyone's in marketing or branding. We're going to talk about that next time. How would you describe this person in 3 words? How would you describe me in 3 words? What advice would you give me to help me be better? And what additional gifts of positive feedback or constructive would you give me to help me be better? If you want to do that. You don't have to, but that will feed into our next exercise, which will be your SWOT, which are just strengths, weaknesses, all the things in life we could do, all the things we might need to say no to. No is a good word, but we don't like to say it. And then the things that we need to protect in our life. So that's what we're going to do next time. You want to do that, you don't have to do it. There's a video that we'll send as well. And I'm going to let Gail, our famous women's ministry leader.
Very good. That's the mouthful that nobody knows what my title. I can't even think of my title half the time. That's it. Very simple. Women's ministry leader here at Horizon. So thank you all for coming this morning. And I know that this is certainly stretching me and giving me some great ideas to think through. I was here Thursday night as well and meeting some women. So my goal really here, besides all the homework, which I'm loving, however, is to meet all of the women that attend these sessions. And I know we only come here once a month, but my job here at Horizon is to kind of feel the needs of the women that are here and to hear what you have to say and what needs do we have and to put us into groups. We might have groups that meet during the day, groups that meet during the evening or on a Saturday morning. We have something coming up right now on Wednesday nights. We're hoping to hit some, moms or some working women that just have evenings and can't make the daytime groups that we have. So just kind of filtering all that through and seeing what our needs are. And really out of this might grow more needs. We'll be meeting here for the next 4 months, once a month, but this might create another need. And if you feel that, please come talk to me. John and I will be sending out an email. It will have my email on it as well, Gail Maui here at Horizon. But I would love to touch base. I'd love to hear from you. I collect friends. And so I would love to hear from every single person here. It just makes me happy because right now I don't recognize way over 50% of the faces. Honestly, it's probably 75 people or 75% that I haven't met, but I would love to meet you and grow with you and see you on a Sunday morning and say hello and just to kind of find out where you are and what might be your next need or desire for a group. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Darcy and Cyndi, and we will see you guys next month. All right. Thanks.